It's another episode, bitches. Welcome back to another episode of Chalik Up with KayRay. Thank you for watching all these episodes so far. We hope you've enjoyed them. Before I continue, I have to give a shout out to the people that made this happen. This episode is brought to you by Dilmil, your leading South Asian dating app. With over 10 million matches made, download the Dilmil app now to find your perfect partner. Thank you to our sponsors and partners, Spacebar Co-working Space. Spacebar is our location sponsor. We want to give them a huge shout out for giving us the space to continue making Chalik Up. This space is available for freelancers, creatives, entrepreneurs that want to build their businesses. You can sign up for your membership now at space-bar.ca. Also, we got to give a shout out to the decor sponsors. The set wouldn't look the same if it wasn't for them. Thank you to Eastern Bazaar. I mean, check out these freaking coasters, crystal coasters, y'all. The Eastern Bazaar has a holistic approach with home decor and crystals, and with every purchase, you plant a tree. Make sure you check them out on Instagram at the Eastern Bazaar. We would like to give a huge shout out to Fujifilm. As huge fans of Insta-X and Fujifilm, we believe our show aligns with these brands. Our team really values the nostalgia and feeling of capturing those timeless moments that analog Fujifilm and Insta-X provide. Through them, we are able to provide a keepsake for our guests. Join the Fujifilm family and create beautiful prints with the extraordinary Insta-X instant cameras and film. I'm really excited to announce my guest. I have been a huge fan of her work for the past 10 years. I'm excited and honored to have her on the show. Please help me welcome author and sexologist, Shan Boody! It's so nice to have
Everybody
you.
behind the camera should clap or else it's
I
weird.
There
we go. There we go.
I know, they're supposed to do that. I don't know what happened to them.
I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for
Can
being
I
here.
tell you that I say the title of the show like Chatty Cup? And I know you guys are not saying it that way.
But that's how you should say it now.
Yeah.
That's it. We're going to change it like that. That's how we say it.
Chatty Cup.
Okay, so I remember coming across your videos. Side note, this is such a side note story, but do you know Michael?
Adrian.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was one of my classmates in Seneca. We went to school together. And he actually introduced me to your videos back in like 2009. And since then, I've been following your journey. So
A real decade.
Yeah, a real decade.
I should have brought you a watch or something.
Yeah, oh my
You know what I mean? Like some type of like 10 years.
10-year anniversary. You gave me a book.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about this
Shan
book a
Boody
whole
always
lot.
comes out on top. Let me
Yeah,
tell you
you already
guys.
know.
I already
You
did
don't
it.
even know. You
I
don't
didn't
even
even
know
know.
what you're doing.
10-year anniversary. You're welcome.
You often call yourself an intimacy expert.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yeah, intimacy is just the experience of loving and being loved. It's being close to other people. And so I initially began in sex, and my first book, Laid, came out in 2009, which was all about sex. And as I've grown in this space, my interests have grown. And I started really getting into behavioral psychology and just the biology of connection in general. And so intimacy to me more accurately describes what my interest area is. It's just genuinely getting people to make better connections, whether that's like getting freaky or getting friendly or finding
That's good.
yourself.
That's a good way to say it. Okay, I said this to you before. There's so many topics I want to talk to you about because I legit like have watched so many of your videos, and I'm like, but then there's this, and then there's that, and I watched the video series that you did, the first dates. The blind dates, was it? Yeah, I watched that.
You're on like.
Yeah, I'm on
I really
it.
gotta get you a watch next time. Absolutely, yes. So Shan Boody is your perfect date, and if you read this book, which it looks like you've done an amazing job of,
Yes.
a lot of that book is in The Game of Desire.
Right,
A lot of
and-
that shows in the book.
Yeah. Which a lot of the things you've covered in your videos is from sexual health, dating tricks, orgasms, self-care and awareness practices, all while being open and vulnerable with your own stories. But one thing I have to say is that coming from a community that is so sexually suppressed,
Yes.
I mean, the South Asian community, in the last few years, I've only been seeing more and more women be vocal about their sexual experiences. We've never grown up with understanding like PDA and like showing affection, showing sexual interests or whatever, and like being open-minded about that. Monogamy is life you know, for South Asian folks. What are some tips that you have for folks who are intimidated by the idea of being seductive or opening up about their sexual experiences?
I mean, it's just exposure,
Right.
it's education, and it's repeated exposure and curiosity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of the same way as well, too. Like, come from a Guyanese family with like
Yeah.
an East Indian background,
Yeah.
and so a lot of my family, the same sexual repressiveness, a lot of the fear around sexuality, but just fear in life general.
Yeah.
Fear about trying new jobs, fear
Yeah.
about trying new foods, just know what you know and stick in that area. And it's not until you start to show them a different way of life. You know, growing up, it's like doctor, lawyer, or dental assistant. I don't know why that was in the mix there, but there's very limited options once you start to really expand and show, hey, there's way more ways to live life. And actually this person who's doing X, which you've never heard of before, can still pay their bills, it's not living with their family, and you know, at 30, 40 years old. And so when it comes to sexuality, the same thing. We only have one linear idea of what it means to have a successful sex life, which is probably no kids until marriage, and then many kids after marriage, and then that's it.
That's it.
But if you start to learn more, ask more, teach more, show more, reveal more, and that's the reason why I share so much of my own experiences, because I live by the quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. And so if you want a world that's more open and more honest about their sexuality, you have to exhibit that quality yourself, even when it's not convenient.
Right.
So I would say it just starts there.
Yeah.
There's no magic pill. There's no one book I can tell you to read or one video to watch. It really just is time and energy and effort that will equal aptitude. Well, you've been in this for 10 years, so you already know.
I already know.
You already know.
I've been dabbling with just like being a little bit more sexually open. It's interesting because the backlash is so real, and like people are not ready to see someone that's sexually empowered. Like when I see videos like yours where you are talking about it, and it's like, no, like what the fuck? Like this is normal. This is what we should be talking about. We didn't learn this stuff in school. We learned about like how not to get pregnant. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Like it was just like that's the only thing. I thought if I touched my man, oh my god, I'm gonna get pregnant. Like that's literally what was embedded in my mind. Like you said in your book too, you dumb it down so you can, you know, talk about this information that we don't really get to hear properly or like resonate with. You say it in a way that does like communicate across the masses. So
I'm a firm believer that, like when I tell people what I do for a living, they're like, that's so unique, that's so niche. I'm like, I didn't tell you that I study like the cracks of hardwood floors, like the most obscure thing ever. I study the thing that the reason why we're all here. I study the greatest joy of life. Everybody should be a relationship expert. Everyone should be a sex expert. This should not be something that 5 people have who dole out information bit by bit. Every single person should, one, seek out this knowledge, but also 2, have an understanding of where to go to get the answers to these really important questions. And so I refer to myself as the Walmart greeter. And by that, I just mean, I'm like, I want people in the store. I have a general understanding of the department, and I want people to get inside the store, start looking around, see what works best for you, and keep coming back.
Yeah, dope. Yeah, and I think you do a great job of doing that. And that's why I'm still here, you know?
Yeah.
I had a chance to read your book this past week.
I'm so loved by that. I really, really am. I'm overjoyed. This, like, nothing turns me on more than seeing people who have, like, Post-it notes in there. Like,
Yeah, I have my own little notes in here, you know, that's I've been, like, just prepping for this.
This made me feel like you got good grades in school.
No, I didn't.
Okay, because it's like color coordinated, like this neat tabs here. Like, this is somebody who studies.
The thing is that I was just a little rebel in school, so I could have done really well. I just chose not to.
The C word's very important. It's very important.
You know.
Yeah, the potential was there. I just didn't care to indulge.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us more about the Game of Desire. What's it about?
It's the story of how I worked with 6 women who were chronically single, down on love daters, who were at their wits' end. They just could not. And these are women who had everything else figured out in life. They had the career, they had a great place, maybe they had friends, but the romantic department was just a constant fail for them. And this was inspired by somebody in my family who's like that, who owns a house and has a great job, but is in their 30s and has never been in a relationship. And I know that's a lot of people's stories in 2019. And so for me, it was, let me assess the landscape to see why it is so hard to date and make connections. And let me see if I can come up with a foolproof strategy that anyone can use. So the book is essentially me testing out my 5-phase strategy on these 6 women.
Spoiler alert.
I love a spoiler, whatever, spoil them.
But I love when you guys go to a dating app party, and the way that the women are behaving throughout the night is just so funny to me, because I'm like, that's my circle of friends.
Yeah.
Like, they just do that. And I'm like, why are y'all like then y'all complaining that no one's coming up to you because you're literally like, hey.
Yeah.
And then just like turn away the whole time. I'm like, but this is why. And like, so not approachable. One thing that you were talking about as well is, I think it was Courtney.
Yes. Shout out to Courtney.
So Courtney talks about how she's blunt. Well, she says that, you know, I tell it like how it is. And the way that you kind of describe it was like, well, that's just a nicer way of saying you are blunt and insensitive.
Yes.
And I feel like the way that just in itself, there's so many women I know that also go through that. Even men that just kind of like, well, I just tell it how it is. And like, if you don't like it, then bye, it's your problem. You know what I mean? I think what's great is that how you start off the whole first phase as just getting to know yourself, getting to know what are your triggers, what are like, why are you, you know, you basically, and like kind of understanding that and then being critical about that and like learning how to change and whatnot. So that's really what the book is doing. It's not so much about how can you be so desirable for someone else, but it's also getting to know yourself. How can you desire yourself almost, you know 100%, what I mean?
100%, because I think about it that way too. Like we tend to really separate sex and relationships. Like it's its own separate thing in life.
Yeah.
Whereas in everywhere else, we understand there is a systematic process, there's a strategy to success, whether that be in home ownership or finances or getting your dream job or even raising a family and cooking, right?
Yeah.
All of the basic essentials we know that we have to study, enlist the help of experts, practice in low risk environments through trial and error, learn from the gurus, and then through that process, it could take us some years, but eventually we'll find exactly where we're meant to be. But when it comes to sex and love, we're like, the right person will just come.
Yeah.
It'll just happen.
It'll just happen.
Yeah, just be yourself.
Be yourself.
Just don't worry about it.
The best was when like the chapter of just don't be yourself.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, why don't act like you're gonna get anyone by that attitude. People don't want to change. That's the thing. And everyone encourages them around them that it's not your fault. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Yeah.
And like it's just like, no. Are you still single in your late 20s? Are you down in the dumps thinking about where your life has led you? Do you find yourself constantly questioning the meaning of life? Are you sitting around crying watching those Bollywood movies over and over again? Do you wander around looking for love, but every option seems to fail? Try Dumil. With over 10 million matches made, it's the leading South Asian dating app. We all deserve to find love. Download the app now to find your one in a dill million.
I love a quiz.
Yeah, you know? Okay, so I wanted to ask you, because this question is the first question you asked at the book club. I just felt like it's fitting for this show because we're talking about tea.
Yes.
How do you like your tea?
Okay, so my perfect cup of tea, boiled hot water. I like to put collagen in my tea in the morning, and so it would be collagen at the bottom. I like chai tea, but in the packets.
Okay.
And there's actually a perfect chai tea that like Amazon sells. And
Okay.
so I'll do this red chai tea in the packet with the collagen, and then hot water 3/4 of the way.
Okay.
Stir until that's dissolved, and then I like plant-based vanilla milk.
Okay.
So for the other quarter of it.
That's specific. That's
Yes.
good. You know
I
what you
know,
want.
This is actually a perfect cup of tea you guys made me, by the way. Somebody made me a great masala
cool.
tea
Yeah.
that was delicious, but I drank before I got here.
Okay.
So you asked me how I wanted my tea, and I gave you instructions. It was perfect.
For me, I'm typical. I like my Indian cha and like Punjabi cha, and I just like boiled water and then adding the tea bag, adding sugar, and then adding milk.
How much sugar?
I used to be bad with my sugar. I would like keep going with the sugar a little bit, but now it's like 1 spoon of sugar.
Yes.
Yeah. I've cut down.
See, this is what the thing I talk about in the book, why the specificity is so important, right? Because if you just said that to me and you said sugar, and then I just put a little tiny bit, you'd be like, where's the sugar at?
Yeah.
This isn't right,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the more specific that we can be, one, you empower me to make you the perfect cup of tea and feel like, oh, I really killed that.
Yeah.
And number two, you actually get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I've had the tea that's like There's no sugar in
Right,
this.
exactly.
Or it's too much and it gives you a headache
Or
after.
you're like, how long did you let the tea bag steep for?
Yeah, I know. It's very specific how I like my tea too.
You know, this is a perfect example though, because you started off saying I'm pretty simple,
Yeah.
and then now look where we've come. But that's the same thing when it comes to love, right? People are like, I'm really easy to love. Like, I don't need a lot in a relationship. And when you start to really pry, they're like, I need 5 good morning texts in this specific order. I need a lunchtime check-in.
Yeah.
Like, I need for you to be able to come by my workplace at least twice a week. And so it does get more specific. And
Yeah.
why play the games?
Exactly.
Why not
Yeah.
set your partner up for success, but also you have to know yourself and be honest about what your needs and expectations are.
Yeah, the one question that I really liked after you asked about that, how do you like your tea, is how do you like to be loved? So how do you like to be loved?
Okay, so I like a securely attached partner, and that just means I need a lot of space. Obviously, what I do for a living, it's a lot of new people. I love flirting, I like connecting, and so I need a partner who's not jealous. My love language is physical touch, so I need a lot of touch. I actually used to judge people, I'm gonna admit this, who were words of affirmation.
Right.
I'm like, oh, they need so many compliments, they don't have enough self-esteem. But literally, if I don't get touched, I'm like,
Everyone hates me. I'm not loved.
and so the smallest thing, yes. If my partner just kisses my cheek in the grocery store, I'll think about it for like 3 days straight. I'm like, that was such a nice feeling.
Yeah,
just
it
those
is.
random things
Yeah.
are really important to me.
You got it down though, you know? I'm still trying to, like, I think I got it, but then I'm like, I don't have it like that.
Well, the goal is to exactly that, is to
Exactly.
get to a place where it's almost as easy as describing how you like your cup of coffee or tea.
Right.
It becomes a matter of fact.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that people get afraid to do that because they're like, well, what if I change? Well, the way you like your tea changes as well too.
Right.
I think once you make communication a culture in your relationship, it's a lot easier to continue to bring the discussions up. The problem is when you never talk about it, and then like you said, 6 months later, you're like, okay, so now I want to bring up the fact that what you've been doing has been wrong. Right?
Physical touch is like a huge thing for me. PDA, being public as well, is like a huge thing for me. Words of affirmation, someone has to keep validating me every minute. And
You're doing great, sweetie.
Thank you so much. I'm like sweating. Am I good? I wanted to go through what is our apology language.
Oh, I love apology
And
languages.
then I feel like all three.
You can't do that.
I
You
know,
cannot.
but number one for sure.
So that's actually an easy one.
Yeah.
That's expressing regret. So
Right.
the 3 choices here were expressing regret, it was accepting responsibility, or making restitution.
Right.
I mean, expressing regret just means you want someone to grovel
Yeah.
and be like, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't
okay,
have
no,
done
no,
it.
no, no, no,
No, it's fine
Yeah.
though. I mean, I'm saying it as a bad
Yeah,
thing because it's
yeah.
not mine. It's
Yeah.
what I do. I
Yeah.
judge other people's.
Yeah.
Mine is make restitution.
Right.
So if you spill my tea, give me some OT. It's about clear communication so that person now knows what to do to troubleshoot.
Attachment style.
So you can be anxiously attached, and those are people who tend to be mistrustful and need a lot of communication. So an anxiously attached person, if they don't hear from somebody, they might go into panic mode. And maybe as a child, they got a lot of inconsistent parenting, which made them very clingy and needy and unsure about relationships. Then there is avoidant, and those are people who like a lot of distance. Too much proximity makes them feel smothered, and these people tend to be hyper independent. Then there's fearful avoidant, which is kind of a combination of anxious and avoidant. So those people, they actually want people to be close, but they think that no one will ever truly love them, so they push people away. And then there's secure, and those are people who are pretty balanced. They can trust other people, they can let other people go, they can tend to make pretty level-headed decisions around connection, and they're not very jealous.
I would say I'm probably third, fearful and avoidant. Yeah, I could see myself doing both, which I'm trying to work through as well. It's like the anxiously, just because like the inconsistency is like, okay, well, this person might just leave again. So like that kind of mindset has like been embedded in me, but like now I'm like, okay, here's someone that's willing to be here, so like I have to like learn to be more trustful and whatnot.
That's wonderful. I think it's so beautiful to admit that, hey, here's where I'm at. Because
Yeah.
if you know where you are, you know
Yeah.
where you have to go next.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
people who are not sure and a little delusional, because
Yeah.
majority of people are going to self-identify as secure.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm perfect.
No,
Nothing's
I'm
wrong
so
with me.
secure.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Still
So I
working
want
on
to
it.
applaud your self-insight for being able to say that.
Thank you. The last one I want to talk about, just because I love it, is the seducer type. So, Bully, actually, when we were doing it, which one was yours?
Kindness one.
Oh, the kindness
The
killer.
kindness killer, yeah.
I could see you being the Oprah too.
Yeah. Well, look at you. How about you? What's yours?
My natural one is the keg. So
Yes, definitely.
that is like my primary one.
There are a lot of them.
That's the best way to be. See?
I didn't realize it, but then I'm like, oh, I resonate with that. I resonate with that.
I think of seduction styles like golf clubs to a golfer.
Right.
So the more that you have in your kit, the better player you'll actually be. Because it's about using the right one for the right time. You know, it's not always applicable. So I love the fact that you are many of these, because I think that people should work on being a little bit of each seducer.
Yeah, I think they're all like, I'm like, isn't this how you communicate with people?
Yeah.
Like, this is so bad. And I'm like, this is what flirting is, guys.
Yeah.
I've been doing it all along.
Yay!
I wanted to talk about the stripper's guide to killing them in conversation.
Yes.
And then like how you transitioned to counter-striking and why it's important to know both. When to be consensual and what does consent even mean, because I think people are very confused by that.
Yes. I think that the thing that Me Too culture really beautifully illustrated, and beautiful is the wrong word, but really aggressively illustrated, is that we have two different working definitions of consent in our society. Some people genuinely believe it's just attendance, and some people understand that consent is an enthusiastic yes and nothing less. And so that's what was happening. People were like, well, she came to the after party. What do you think that means? You're like, that she wanted to be at the after party? Yeah. It was an aha moment for everybody, I hope. And now that the shock value of the Me Too movement has worn off, I think we should all come back to the table and have a discussion. And even though we're having a discussion and trying to educate this sect of the population that, hey, here's what consent actually is. It's an enthusiastic yes and nothing less. That means you can't be drunk, you can't be inebriated, you can't be pressured. It genuinely has to be two equal consenting adults who have a lot of micro yeses, and then of course the big yes that comes with it before you have the act. Like, have you been to a self-defense class?
I have once. Like,
Good
a
job.
long time ago, but yeah, I have once, and I know the whole.
Under the nose?
Under the
yeah.
nose. That's the one that really stuck with me for some reason.
That was even in a self-defense class. She was like, kicking in the balls is just, they predict that. She's like, we got to move on to something different. Well, Joe Rogan, who's like a fighting guru, he said that the eye gouge is every woman's best bet. Just because the size factor and then the adrenaline factor, and both people have adrenaline when the attack is going on.
Right.
And so the eye gouge, which is just putting your thumbs right into the tear duct and pressing down, which can dislodge the eyeball, that's your best bet.
That's good.
What's good?
That's it. We're gonna add a graphic to that.
Good.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time, and who can say.
If you're open to it, I know you've spoken before about you and your husband having an arrangement before it transitioned into something more.
Yes.
How did it happen, and do you think labels matter?
I think labels matter for others, right? Like, it doesn't matter to me who drinks and who loves this tea, what it's called. I know that I'm enjoying it. I know what's in it. I know so much about this tea. It matters to you because when you ask me what kind of tea do you want, I say, oh, chai tea. And that gives you like the communication. So I think labels matter to a relationship for other people. I think the couple themselves should have a very nuanced understanding that goes far beyond what any one word should describe. So my relationship started out as friends with benefits. And that label, I think it was important for us because I think the key to happiness is managing expectations. And we both were very clear, like, we're like, do not call me when your parents are in town. You know, when my parents came in town a few times, I did not have them meet him. Like, it's my fuck buddy. You don't need to know his name, right? It doesn't matter. So we did open relationship for a while. And then, I mean, our relationship is still pretty much open. And then engaged and now married. The current label that we use is free relationship, and that just essentially celebrates the fact that we have not engaged with others and we don't have other boyfriends or girlfriends and haven't, but if he wanted to, then the choice is his, and of course vice versa.
Okay, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it doesn't suck at all, girl.
No, yeah.
I honestly say that's how, like, my relationship is my greatest accomplishment.
Oh wow, that's really sweet to hear. Are men more likely to cheat?
Statistically, it's true, I believe. I think it's like 60%, but like those stats are always so weird because who's admitting?
Yeah, who's talking about it, and where are you getting these surveys from?
And I also think that because there's so much more stigma associated with women who do cheat, that women are more likely to lie, whereas in men, there's an understanding that they can have desire outside of their relationship, and that is a natural part of masculinity. So I would think they'd be more comfortable bringing it up, but the statistics are that men do cheat more.
Is ghosting on the person who ghosted?
Here's the thing. Yes, it is on you. It's like if you didn't get a job, and the job didn't call you to say you didn't get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, is the job the problem, or is it like you weren't the fit for the job? And most people are ghosting because they're like, I don't feel comfortable saying I don't want to talk to you again, but I want to talk to you again. And so as much as it's not on you, it is, yeah, it's you.
It's you.
It's you.
You gotta do something.
That's
about
not a
that.
bad thing
Yeah.
sometimes, though, because
No,
maybe
exactly.
the fit wasn't right.
Exactly.
They're just the one who made the call.
Yeah. You can get pregnant while you're on your period. Fact or fiction?
It is mostly fiction. I actually spoke with a fertility doctor, Dr. Rishma, like yesterday or something, and it's really around, it's mid-cycle, but most people don't have a 28-day cycle.
Right.
And so if your cycle is irregular, and there could be, for whatever reason, if your ovum gets released during that time, it's possible. And then of course, as we know, sperm lives for 5 days. And so what could have happened is that it's not on your period, but the sperm still stayed in the uterus. And then 5 days later, the egg released early.
Right.
It's very unlikely though, very, very unlikely, but it's happened.
It's happened. Most women can have an orgasm through vaginal sex only.
No, that's false.
Yes.
Yeah, so 2/3 of women need clitoral stimulation in order to achieve orgasm. And even of that 1/3 of women who do achieve orgasm through penetration, they also need some clitoral stimulation as well. So there's a book that I love, it's called Come As You Are, which has a scientific explanation. It's called the rule of thumb. And so she says that it's the distance from your clitoris to your vaginal opening that determines if it's possible for you to have a penetration orgasm. So if your clitoris is like this close to the opening, like closer down to it, you're more likely to be able to orgasm.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing this book with us. Thank you for being here. Is there anything else? How can people follow you? How can we get to know more about you?
I think you get one wish with people because everyone's very busy. So my one wish is to get the book. It is my greatest piece of work that I've done. I spent 10 years since my last book working on this one. So you can go to thegameofdesire.com or get it for free on Audible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can
with
get
an
it on there
Audible
too.
free trial, you get the book for free. That's my
Amazing.
one wish.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Okay, let's make out.
Make sure y'all go and like, subscribe, comment, rate, do all the things the internet does. And until next time, bye. Be protecting yourself. I'm one to talk. Most women. Plan B is my best friend. Okay.